This is the Failures Only podcast.
This is the Failures Only podcast.
This is the Failures Only podcast,
where we are embracing the power of failure
by redefining it
and turning your worst moments
into your sources of strength.
This is a Failures Only podcast, where we are embracing the power of failure by redefining it and turning your worst moments into your sources of strength. This is the recap episode. In other words, I don't have to be in the studio with these guys again for a long time.
At least.
So we're going to enjoy this studio session. We are here with, what's your name, bro?
Jamal Romero.
What's your name, bro?
Carlos Martinez.
As you haven't been hearing us all season, but we had to do a recap episode just discussing what we've learned throughout the year, and honestly, just getting to chill with each other again in the studio another time. So that's really it. So we're going to jump right into this.
Let's do it.
Come on, man.
So what was the name of the podcast? Well, we first started out as the Fuck Out of Here Moving
Fuck
Company.
Out of Here Moving Company.
And so we made these shirts. So we just like, we should do something else about it.
And then we realized we didn't know shit about moving.
Yeah.
So we said, let's move on.
That's a failure.
Yeah.
That was a
we
failure.
should talk about failures.
But I paid for these shirts. So like, hold on.
Right. So it's like, wait a minute.
Let me get some money back.
Let me get some money back. Yeah. So in other words, we may start again as we may start that up again. All right.
Moving company.
Let's jump right into this.
Let's go.
Wait, did you tell people the name of the moving company?
It was
Fuck Out of Here Moving Company, bro.
But that really wasn't a thing. That was
that.
So fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
I mean, when we started throwing shit out the window, that's
crazy season, right?
Heck of a season.
We've had on politicians. We've had on like
actresses.
This guy called El Jefe. He was like
runners,
runner. You know what I'm saying?
Athletes.
He showed up. Entrepreneurs, right? Like who else have we had? We've had some crazy
literal
actresses,
literal bean counters.
Bean counters, right.
Coffee bean counters.
We've been in the studio. We've been out the studio. We got a different color background. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we with shirts. Sometimes we not with shirts.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
What have been the difficulties for you guys this season in terms of what happens when you told your other half? What happens when you're like, hold up, I got to go to New York? Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? What's been some of the difficulties of just running a business, full-time job, managing a family, and now spending time with this podcast? What has been the one thing that pops up where you're like, fuck, that shit hurt?
Yeah, you want me to start? I mean, listen, you guys, it's no secret, right? Juggling all of this, getting here on time has been the most difficult thing for me, right? It's just, and it's no matter even knowing ahead of time, like once we started doing, like I remember when I showed up for the first one, I was like, man, this is like okay, and I showed up a little, it wasn't late, but I was like,
you up, and we rode together. That's why you were early to that.
Okay, but even then, I was like, Carlos is gonna come get me. Right.
Good.
So even and then I was still thinking,
dressed like a car salesman.
I brought my laptop. I'm thinking I was gonna do work.
We have an episode with Jamal, by the way, that's not going to be released, but
because the way I
look,
look,
make the bloopers.
But then I left.
Dressed,
but even I think we didn't come back. Oh, we did come back together, but I was rushing you. That was like the only time, right? Because I was like, I had to like following that schedule. So I think the hardest thing for me was, difficulty-wise, was just juggling everything and time, man. Time, putting, trying to be on time. Because I want to respect your time. I want to respect your time. I want to respect the people's times. Yeah. Right? So, it was the hardest part was getting here on time.
Yeah. I mean, but that's been your problem since I met you.
That's true.
so
maybe
those that don't know,
maybe it's not time. Maybe it's just the way
Jamal used to jump in like 10, 15 minutes late from law school. But I will give it to you that you're always on point. Okay, you show up late, but you're ready to rock. So it doesn't.
That's true.
So I understand the respect for time with us, but at the same time, like you show up, you don't fuck around.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
So it's all right.
And even when we do fuck around, I mean, it's just part of the whole.
It's part of the vibe. It's
the whole vibe.
Lois, what about you?
Definitely juggling everything at the same time because just recently started my own law firm.
Big ups to that. Yep.
Shout
out to the law offices of Carlos D. Martinez. Check me out.
Oh, shit.
And then, my wife and I currently in the middle of a move. Right.
Fuck out of here moving company. Did you use fuck out of here moving company?
I Googled them. But apparently one didn't make it on time and one was out of the country.
Yeah. With a bad back. Sorry.
That's true.
So, it was definitely difficult to try to prioritize all of it. right?
Dealing with clients, dealing with family.
Right, exactly, because you want to give everything its due time, right?
It's
you
due
don't
attention,
wanna, right? It's due attention. You don't want to, prioritize one over the other, although you have to in certain situations, but try to, balance work life, right, and time for yourself,
Right.
right. I feel like that's what a lot of entrepreneurs go through, right? The fact that they are forced to deal with finding a life-work balance, and also life meaning not only themselves but their family members and children, right? A lot of people just give up on stuff, right? And it was difficult for me to try to juggle all that, right? I've always been pretty good with time, right? You guys know me. I'm ready to everything. And I show up and I want to be prepared.
Yep.
But, still waters run deep, man. Still, right? So...
Can you explain to me what that is? Because I don't know.
So still waters run deep.
I've heard that my whole life, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Cologne. It's not a cologne.
Right.
It's not a cologne.
I was like, we talking about kayaking?
He's like,
still waters run deep, man. You can
What is still water?
you can see a very calm, peaceful water at the top, but the currents at the bottom are just like...
I got you.
So the thing about Carlos, he'll just throw out a cliche just because he likes to say them.
Right.
Yeah, word.
right.
Yeah.
But I'd be like,
come on,
what?
man. If I could live my life in quotes, I would definitely live my life in quotes.
How he learned English. I think it might have been like they taught him.
It's like, where do they come from, bro? Yo, all right, I'm gonna get deep. I think for me, it's been trust. Right, as these fools are laughing at me, I think it's been trust. Because
I can see that.
We should do a trust fall now.
Hold on this thing. I got you.
Oh, we not doing
off this little.
No, I don't fuck out of here.
He'll take a call in the middle.
Be like, yo, he's dropping right now. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. Let me send this text out. No, it's definitely been trust, because the last venture that I had with somebody else who was a very good friend ended up fucking horrible for me. And so just having the trust in the room with you guys to be able to know that, okay, creatively they think differently, and I need to trust that. Where it's like my creative vision is not the only thing here. It's three people, three different dudes with three different visions of stuff. And I think we've gotten through that really well, where it's like, I'm not afraid of conflict, right? And it comes, and I've been saying it from day one. I'm like, it's the best product possible. That's all I care about. And it's not about like, oh, Carlos was right or Jamal was wrong. Or it's none of that shit. Yeah. It's having the trust and the confidence in each other to be like, this is what's for the best product, and maybe let's do it this way better, and this way better, this way. And I think we've gotten through that, where those creative visions have conflicted with each other and made the best product, because it ain't personal, bro. Like we
talk it out.
And
we talk it out. We're doing the best.
And we're still learning
possible.
To this day, up to this episode. We're still working out kinks, and that's how it's going to be. It's continuously growing and getting through it. And I hope, man, I appreciate you saying that. I hope we didn't let you down on that, man. I hope,
seriously.
I hope we didn't fail you on that. That end, because I know that was difficult for you. But I hear you, man. Our goal has always been to put out the best, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're here for.
Right. I wouldn't have done it with anybody else. I'll be honest with you.
Appreciate that.
I'll be
man.
honest.
Word.
Definitely.
For real.
Absolutely.
Anybody, and I get thrown shit all the time, and I'm just like, nah, negative.
God knows I can't be taking more things on.
Right. Well, let's go with that. Los, why did you want to start this podcast?
Because I think that, I was at a point, at least I was at a point in my life where I was ready to be vulnerable with my own personal failures and everything that I've learned up to this point, right?
Yeah.
From you, right? And we would always have these conversations, right? I'm talking about failure and personal growth, and we were always lifting each other up, right?
Yeah.
Through law school, after law school, right? Even though you moved away, right, to Dominican Republic, we still kept in touch, and then you and I started working together, and then Wade, you and I have been working together since law school, right? But always lifting each other up, right? So once I started shedding relationships that no longer served the purpose, right? And then I was able to rely on these relationships that lift you up, right? Yeah. That's when I kind of just took a step back and said, wow, we have a lot of stories, right? We have a lot of shit to say to people, right? And whether they vibe with it or not, I mean, that's their own prerogative, right? I could appreciate that. Not everybody's gonna listen intently, right? But I think that failure is an important subject that people just don't talk about enough, right? Everybody always sees the consequence of success, right? Everybody always sees, the college kid that makes it to the NBA, the college player that makes it into the NFL, the person that opens up their own business, right? The actress that made the movie, the politician that is speaking in front of other people and in front of a New York State Assembly. But nobody sees or talks about the stuff that they've been through to get to that point.
Yeah. Bitch,
right?
you
That
wasn't with
darkness.
shooting in the gym.
Right. or the times they got rejected, like where they didn't make, like what that they didn't make, or that they had to pivot to that. So before you saw the actress, before you saw the assemblywoman, before you saw the basketball player, the entrepreneur, there was something there, right? That maybe that entrepreneur wanted to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
That failed and now became an entrepreneur, right? So like that, right? That journey, I think, is what brought me in. I mean, you're gonna ask me a question. I'm just jumping in here, but that's what brought me in, man. That's what captivated me into this whole thing. That
you weren't in.
I wasn't in the.
And I remember.
What was he? That's what I want to know. When he sold on it. Yeah.
So he wasn't though. He wasn't.
Yeah,
he was being supportive.
Yeah.
He was. He's a great friend.
That's right.
He's a great friend. He was being extremely supportive.
Right.
And you and I came up with this idea
right
after speaking to our friend Mike. Right. Shout out to Mike. He's been shout out a few times.
Mike, I hope you get out of rehab. Just do it. I'm believing you.
Hope you find another barber, Mike. Okay.
So. We were having, and then he kind of kicked off the idea, like, damn, you guys have a lot of stories. You guys should talk about this to other people, right? And then you and I kicked the idea around, and one day we just said,
fuck it.
Let's just say, fuck it, yeah. And what's the worst that can happen? If it fails, it fails.
Yeah.
That's why we say that at the end.
Yeah.
And then I threw the idea to Wadio,
Yes,
right? If anybody, I call him Wadio,
Right.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then he came in and supported. He was actually the first guest,
Right.
Yes.
right? Because he's been through plenty of struggles, a lot of life stories.
Yeah, we talked
there,
a lot about that,
right?
So yeah.
And he saw that one, right?
I lived
And
through it.
then
Yeah, I went through it.
he had his episode, and as we finished the end of that episode, we were riding home, and he's like, "Damn, like you guys are on to something."
Yeah. It was, and also with the guests, and I helped with I stuck around the studio. I helped you guys with the next,
because we wanted your feedback. Too.
Yeah, and we, kind of,
we're not podcasters.
kind of like did our pre-production thing for the next guest, and I stayed for that whole episode, and I really, that's Carlos is exactly right. On the ride home, I said, "Damn, I feel like you guys are onto something." There's something here about talking to people about this subject matter. And I think I could be, I think I could run with this.
Yeah.
I could be insightful. I could definitely be a benefit. So I wanted to be a part of it. And I called that meeting, right? We called that meeting and we all came together and we all thought like, yeah, absolutely, let's make it happen. So yeah.
Yeah. It was dope.
Yeah,
I think like I was looking for something different, right? Where like I was consistently focused on just like business. I need to grow up. I need to make more money. I need to blah, 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 blah. And now I'm like running
more clients.
Yeah, I need to bring in more clients. And now I'm like tired of that shit. I'm just like, hey, that's really it. Like, that's it. That's the point of life. Like looking for more clients. Like, fuck out of here. I need something more inspiring, something more creative, something I can dig my teeth into and build from the bottom up. And I think that with this, it's like we're doing something inspiring that hopefully will change people's lives.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I feel like bringing on all these
That's the
amazing
goal.
guests and having all these stories and have all this stuff of how like they fucked up, I fucked up, but yeah, we back up here still rocking, still running. Like
Even validating
what better
them.
gets
right?
better
Like,
than that?
yes, we want our guests and somebody like we at the close of the show. Carlos always says if we change someone's life, then we've done our good in our own right? Successful in our own right.
Right.
And he's right. But even I feel like every guest that has been on has had a changing moment, right? Like this has helped them. That recapping the season, right? Them seeing their once it stops rolling, once the mic is off, they're feeling how they feel like, wow, this pressure was off of my shoulders. I didn't know I wanted to say that story. I didn't know I wanted to say this.
It's like therapy.
Yeah, and it definitely, it's like therapy, and especially in this time and age with mental health and and awareness. Like, you know, it's people are looking for that.
Yeah,
and
right.
to have three Latino men at that
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know,
It speaks in itself.
yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be this vulnerable on camera recorded.
I mean, none of us,
That's
man.
true,
How many times have I gotten emotional on camera?
Yeah,
right.
Carlos cries if he has like a bad
I am
haircut.
an emotional.
He cries. He comes back
dude.
home. Right?
Yeah, I am not afraid to say it.
You step on his sneakers and he.
I mean,
a
listen.
tear comes out.
He's at you. No.
Yeah. So what? So let's kind of jump through let's do what we do with all the other guests. What is your definition of failure, Carlos?
My definition of failure is when you stop trying to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That if you know, everybody falls down, man. That's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
Right. If you stay down and you never get back up, then that's failure for me.
That's failure for you.
Yep.
So what about
No
success?
matter what it is.
What does success look like?
Success is doing what you love, man. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Success is doing what you love. And, you know, I'm actually glad that you asked me this, right? Because for the last almost a year, we've done this, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a success. It's not because of I started my own business. It's because I get to do this with my best friends.
Yeah.
Right? To me, that's success.
Yeah.
Right? Doing something what I love with the people that I love.
Oof. What about you, Mo?
Beat that.
Failure. Let's start with failure first.
I mean, listen, I was on failure. I up until this journey that we went on, right? I would think it was exactly that. I thought the same. If you stopped trying at whatever you were trying to succeed at, whatever your goal was, whatever you set out to do, and then if you didn't reach it and then said, I can't do it, to me that was failure. That's when you failed, right? Not reaching it the first time, second time, or third time is not failure. It's just you didn't get there yet. But if you stopped, then you failed, right? That was but I'll take a twist of it because, you know, Carlos said that earlier. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit and say, to me, failure is not learning from your mistake, right? So like you messed up, right? You messed up and you didn't get to your goal or you didn't accomplish it for whatever reason.
Right.
If you don't take something away from that and understand why you didn't get there,
Right.
then that's a failure.
Right.
Yeah.
You failed.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna throw that, and I didn't realize that until having gone through this, right?
Journey.
This journey now, like doing these and hearing out all those people's and taking
Stories.
all the stories and putting them into perspective and saying, damn, and that's seeing that, and that's the part of this, right? Where we want to learn, we want to grow.
Right.
And so that, for me, that's what I took away. One of the biggest takeaways from the season is my perspective on what failure was and how I defined it changed.
Yeah.
How did you define it before?
Giving up on whatever you were trying to do. Exactly what you say. Yeah.
For me, it's not changed for me. I'll be honest with you, but I think I learned what it is more so as I do this. Right. I think I've kind of always had the same idea where it's like if I'm doing the same shit on March 1st in 2024 and I'm doing it March 1st, 2025, the same exact thing for me,
Right.
that's failure because life for me is about growth, right? We're getting older. What have I learned? And I always ask others on their birthday and myself, like I just see birthdays as not a celebration, but like reflection. Like, well, what have you learned in the past year, right? New Year's, I'm always asking my family, like, give me a word that's going to guide you for the next year, right? Which we're going to get to actually with this too, right? And it's like, what's that word that guides you for the next year? Because it's all about growth for me. That's what I need. So for me, failure has always been complacency. And it's because of my own failures. It's because I noticed that at the times that I failed, at the times that I could sit here and say right now that I fucked up, it was because I was just complacent. And I thought that like, oh, this job is always going to be here for me. These people are always going to be here for me. This money is never going to go away. And then all of a sudden I had a car accident. I went through a window and it was like, wait a minute, that's not true, right? Anything can change at the drop of a dime.
Right.
But I think that with this podcast, I've been able to define that better. Because none of us did this at this time last year, right? So we're all growing together. So the success part of that has been the growth with you guys. Like that's success to me too, where it's like I'm growing, not just doing this with the people I love, but like getting better at it and growing with the people I love and learning how to do that, because I've taken, even just this weekend, like I was at a family wedding and I took a lot of our conversations and I brought them to my family conversations, and I noticed that I had deeper conversations with my cousins and build bonds with my cousins.
That's great.
From this conversation.
right.
My wife, I go home, we have different conversations now, what we didn't have before.
Yeah.
Right. So I was even asking my younger cousins. It's interesting because my younger cousin just turned 17, and so we went around the car. And I'm asking my cousins who like, you know, a little older, my cousins who's our age, my cousins younger, and I'm like, what is your definition of failure, right? Like, what does that look like? What's your definition of success? So I think that it's drastically changed just like the conversations that I want to have. Like, I love these fucking conversations now.
Would you say, just stay here for a second?
Yeah.
When you are hearing these different age groups define failure and success, what was your initial reaction to that?
At how intelligent and introspective younger people are. We're taught so much that like, oh, you need this certain amount of experience, a certain amount of life and experience to really have like to have wisdom. And it's just not true. It's really not. My younger cousin, when I asked him what his definition of success was, he said to be in control of my own time. He's a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah,
right?
that's huge.
Right? It's like, I mean, I want like, ask your kids, what do they think of that? Right? Like for me at 16, my definition of success was I want a pair of Jordans.
Yeah.
You know, like I want some spinning rims, right?
And
Like,
that's what I'm asking, right? Because
Right.
I think that's changed generationally. Right?
Yeah.
Because the definition of success for me at 16 was I want a car.
Right.
And I want a job to pay for that car.
Right.
That was my definition of success.
Right.
All of this came much later in life.
Right.
Right. So I'm certain that if you ask, you know, Jalen, right, or you ask your kids and you know, you ask your cousins and stuff, then I mean, you look at them and you're like, damn, good for you, because you got me beat by like 20 years.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Los,
that's
I can remember being 9 years old in the middle of the Bronx, seeing a Mercedes-Benz goes by, because one of the drug dealers had a Mercedes-Benz on the block, seeing the Mercedes-Benz go by, and me and my boys literally get into a fist fight over arguing, that's my car, that's my car, like literally arguing about that, and then flipping that to my 20-something-year-old cousin that's driving around a Honda Civic, a beat-up 2001 Honda Civic, and he's like, nah, this car just gets me from point A to point B. I don't care about
because
that.
I'm saving up for a house.
Because I'm saving up for a house.
Correct.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I think generationally, it's so true. I think it's just like, it's consistently changed. And I think that's been the biggest surprise to me, at how like, how really intelligent this younger, not just intelligent, but also thoughtful.
Well-equipped.
Well-equipped to handle things, right? Like that's just been a shock to me, man. It's been a shock to me. What have you guys learned about yourself that surprised you going through this podcast like journey, right? And I'll like start it off, right? I think that for me, the one thing that surprised me is how I've been able to take like almost like the trauma I had and kind of flip it and learn from it as quick as I did, right? Because we never had an argument, right? But we had some conversations as to like, yo, what really? But what, like really, like you were like, yo, fool, but this is a one sentence. Like, how was that too much time, right? Like stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it's like we haven't had an argument, but like that conversation is essential for the best product.
Right.
I've had those conversations in the past with other people that I've done businesses with, and it always ends at a fuck you.
Yeah, it doesn't end up as good. Yeah,
doesn't end up as good. So I think for me, like I've learned that I've grown, where I'm like, okay, I know how to actually do this without injecting my emotions into it, where it's more like, but you're right.
Right.
It was only one sentence. You know, like stuff like that. So I think for me, like that's a big thing I've learned. What about you, Mo? Like you got something to say?
I think it's just how comfortable I've felt. Not only with the subject matter, but you know, with our guests. Even though I don't know, you know, I may not have known him. I met him in pre-production, and then you know got to know him throughout the interview. But I just feel like it's surprising to me. I've surprised myself at how comfortable I've been able to not only just talk to them about my experiences, but their experiences. Yeah. And how I don't know. How natural it felt. Yeah. Right, to just discuss this, and it just feels. It felt good. it felt good. It feels good. It doesn't feel like even though I struggle with the time.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't feel forced.
no, it doesn't feel like a chore, a task.
Yeah.
Like it's something else that you got to do that you add it to the plate.
Yeah, no.
That you're trying to get out, trying to get done.
Nah, this definitely it feels natural. I'm just surprised at how natural. it felt.
Surprised at how natural.
Yeah,
it is.
it's just yeah.
That's dope.
So that's it.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lowe's.
For me, so I'm an only child, right? So it's surprising how seamlessly it's been to work with other people.
Yeah.
Right. Even though I'm a very charismatic person, very friendly, it's always been a control thing for me because I've always been a lone wolf.
Right.
Right. So having to take a step back and let others lead where maybe I don't have that quality. Maybe you're better at this than I am. And Wadio is better at something else than I am, and having to step back. I think that's been a huge learning lesson because, when you have an A-type personality, you always think that your idea is the best or maybe you have the best interest, right? But working with you guys, right, has essentially taught me that we all have the best interest in mind, right? You can be great at X and you can be great at Y, and then I'm great at Z, and now we got X, Y, Z. Like you can't kill that, right? Right. So,
Go Power Ranger.
right, exactly. So it's like I've always done things myself, right? But learning and knowing that you can be great, but you can even be greater if you add X and Y to the equation.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you can take yourself to the next level. Because again, man, I mean, some of the smartest people surround themselves with people that are smarter than them for a reason.
That's what they say.
So what surprised you about X and Y? Right? Like, what is it that surprised you? What was the first thing that you were like?
It wasn't nothing
really?
that I already knew.
Okay. They didn't know.
Right. They didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I've known you guys for over 10 years. Right.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. It's more internally. How I've dealt with that.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right. As
I can see
opposed
that.
to, because I've known that you're great at networking and social media and content and, being extremely approachable. Right. And Wadio always being very analytical and very philosophical about the way he thinks and the way he approaches life. And to see that shine.
Yeah.
Right. And me take a step back, not having to be the best at marketing, not having to be the most analytical.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned about myself, that I don't always have to be that person. Let somebody else lead.
That you could also count on people. That's good.
Right.
That's big.
Yeah.
Depend on others.
I think that for some reason, but with Jamal, right? I have this image of Jamal always joking around, which you are always joking around, right? He always, both of you are, right? Always joking around. But then I know that Jamal is incredibly intelligent, and I know that Jamal has this memory where he remembers shit that he just looks at it twice and he remembers it, and I can't remember anything. I look at it for an hour, right? So I think that, but I didn't know Jamal was that analytical when it came to contract work, when it came to negotiation stuff, when it came to like just deeper introspective stuff, that he seems like, you don't seem standoffish at all. You just seem that like you pop in and pop out, aloof, right? You do seem like that. You come and pop in and pop out, but then you pop back in and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't even think about that. Where the hell did you come from, bro? You came out of left field with that shit, bro. Right? So I think that was the one thing that like surprised me about you, right? And then with Lowe's, like because me and him been working together for a while already, so it's like we kind of already had like the work dynamic. But I didn't expect you to be so good with your words. Like I think I like
English
a lot
is my
of
second language.
English, yeah,
right? That might be the English first.
English is my second language.
Sí, estoy hablando español ahí. So it might be a little bit different because like literally I'll give you this, I'll write the base of it maybe, and then I'll give it to him, and all of a sudden we come back and it's something completely different. But it's way better than what I could have thought of. Right? And so like I think that that's something I learned about myself too, where it's the same thing. It's like that control. It's like giving the creative control to other people at times, like that's not easy for me to do, man. Because I'm so used to being a one-man show and being by myself the whole time that it's hard. hard.
and it's difficult, right? To let go of the baton because of that, right?
Yeah.
Because you obviously want the best product,
Right.
But I think once you start realizing that, you also like everybody's thinking, and everybody in the room is thinking the same thing.
We all got the same goal.
Right, we all got the same goal. So it doesn't matter if you want one thing this way, that way, or the other way.
Right.
At the end of the day, we kind of just take a step back and we'll listen to each other, and then we'll say, okay, how can we bring these ideas together? As opposed to, let's take a vote, two against one, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's say season 2, you get a budget, unlimited budget. Who you calling first to interview on the podcast? Where we going? I'm gonna start
This
with
for me a few times already.
I'm gonna start with which y'all keep making fun of me about because you think I'm saying Grover from Sesame Street, but it's not Grover from Sesame Street. It's Tim Grover.
Yeah.
Right. Tim Grover was Kobe and Mike's trainer.
Yeah.
Right. It don't get no better than that. I want to talk to him because the way I see it is that he had this deep backdoor view of Mike and Kobe, right? And like they're at the worst moments of their life training to get better. He had the first row, right? He was able to see that 24/7. But I want to know, like, well, what did you do to tell him to get better? Because honestly, it's coming from that source of strength is coming from somebody. Right. And so it's like he's the one in the room. He's literally with Kobe shooting in the gym.
Right.
He's telling Mike, like, yo, the Pistons just beat the shit out of you. Like, we need to bulk you up. Right. Like, he was the one that's doing that. So I want to know from him, it's like, well, what's the mindset that you put them in? Like, where did you get that from? Like, how did you learn that? Right. Like, that's what I want to learn
Check
about.
out his book, Relentless.
Yeah.
His book, Relentless.
Right.
I read it this year, and it's
I'll get it to you. I'll get it for you in Spanish.
Yeah, please. Yeah, it's gotta be with subtitles.
It's got to be in Spanish.
I need subtitles.
2-3 years from now, but it's really
Right.
really
The bronze
good,
kid will be like an all-star right now. I get it. Yeah. So for me, it's Tim Grover. That's my goal right
Listen,
now.
that would be a big get.
Yeah.
I mean, me, man, I think there's no surprise to you guys here in the room. I'm gonna, if we could get anybody and we could bring them in and talk about their failures and then just transformation and going through all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get Jay-Z to sit down and just I want to know talk from Trenton.
Yeah.
Right. To slinging to all the way that mentality to change.
Right.
To then writing his first song, album, to everything else,
record label,
and so many different ways you could go from becoming a billionaire, becoming a mogul, marriage, going through the struggles of that openly, right, having children.
His 444 album was crazy. There was a song that he talks about like cheating on his wife.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but
that was grown man shit. That was deep.
But that you also gotta have some right when you're putting out an album for everyone. You're not putting it out there like that. It's got commercial vibes and stuff like that.
Of course.
Sit them in a chair.
Right.
And let's get vulnerable.
Right.
Let's talk.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Right. I think that would be
the real behind it.
Like from beginning. And I don't know if we could do that all in one episode, but that would be
that's dope.
That'd be like a 17-part episode.
That would be a person that I would love to talk to.
I got a few, man.
So
I got a few.
Of course, I got to be. That was the first person.
So, and I just thought about another one too. Mine is more of a collective group. So I would definitely love to interview David Goggins.
Okay.
Right? Because I think.
Would you do a run interview with him? Would you?
I mean, no, but I'll get Jeff. I'll get Jeff to run.
And then we do like the part two.
Yeah.
One of those
callback.
Yeah, like I mean, he can FaceTime me while he's running if he wants. But we'll get there.
That'll be a challenge for them. But that right to run with the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
conversational pace. That's what they say. Hey, listen, don't breathe hard, David.
Right.
Talk to me.
Just do it.
Come on,
David Goggins for sure, man. Because I think getting into and when we spoke to Jeff definitely reminded me of David Goggins in a sense because it's like that mind of a beast, right? You want to get into the mind of that beast, right? And I've always been very interested on how people get to that point, right? Because like Jeff mentioned in his episode, right? We all have that in us, but tapping into that, right? I think is the part that people are afraid of, right? They're afraid of success or becoming the person that they may become as a result of it. And I'm a huge Bills fan. Shout out to the Buffalo Bills organization.
Oh,
you
man.
guys want to send me jerseys? That's cool. I would love to talk to the team that went to all the four Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that, I would love to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, I mean, listen, if we can't make that happen, if we can make Jim Kelly happen, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember Jim Kelly.
We could do that sponsorship to the golf
that we wanted to go to.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, and then
But
we talk
at
to
a
them.
minimum, at least some of the big names that I remember from those teams, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Cornelius Bennett, right? Bruce Smith, right? Darryl Talley, right? Don Beebe, right?
Don Beebe.
Steve Tasker, right? Obviously, these are all different players from offense and defense, but I would definitely love to talk to them because,
that's hard.
It's
talking about
as
failure.
a 9-year-old
Of
kid
course.
seeing your team lose 4 straight Super Bowls.
Oh man,
Right, that was traumatizing for me.
Right. Now I'm gonna put on the flip side of you, right? Because we were talking earlier about this. It's like, well, at least they made it to the Super Bowl. I'm a
Right.
Mets fan, bro.
Right.
Like, what
yeah,
the fuck?
I hear you, man.
I'm a Mets fan,
I hear
right?
you.
Like-
I hear you, man.
Yeah, said it happened
didn't
once.
I just go to the World Series?
That was 2000,
Yeah,
bro.
but at least y'all-
2015,
but at least y'all
2015. I was
won.
there. We lost.
At least y'all won one.
But that was I was 3 years old. How am I supposed to remember that?
Listen,
anyway,
that's
anyway,
listen,
that's
man.
possible.
But
at least we
having
can all vibe on the
gone-
Knicks, right?
Having
Knicks look good.
Yeah, seriously.
We can all
Knicks
vibe on
look
the
good.
Knicks. Yeah.
And we just got Bridges too.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
having gone 4 years, right, and to get to the pinnacle, and
Yeah.
then just have it stripped away from you,
That's
or,
tough.
or going in as the favorite, right, and losing,
Right.
right. That has to be mentally like a mental fuckery. Like I want to tap into that mind.
Yeah.
Almost
And then to
like
get
to
up
those
and do it again, and then get up and do it again, and then get up
4
and do it
times.
again.
4
Yeah, that's a
times.
tough one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good one.
And even the last one, like I was telling you guys, right? Like Don Beebe slapping the ball out of Leon Lett's hand when they were down by 30.
Yeah.
And this dude is chasing them down, having lost
Right.
or the 4 Super Bowls,
Yeah.
and to the point where you're about to lose the 4th one, and seeing this man
His effort.
chase down Leon Lett for 40 yards, right? Where the game was practically over. at
over.
that
Yeah,
point, with
yeah.
5 minutes left.
Right.
That dude chasing him down to slap the ball out of his hand and not let
Give up the
Leon Lett
score.
score.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the mind of a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Right. How do you go through 4 losing Super Bowls and still have the courage to chase that dude down?
Yeah.
That's a
crazy.
fucking
Yeah,
that's the mind
that's
of
a
a
beast.
champion.
That's
regardless
so
of
I
your
guess we
Super
need
Bowls
Don
or
Beebe.
not.
We need BB. That's what you really want.
Don Beebe.
So we need Don Beebe.
Like, yo, I want to talk
We
about
gotta talk
that.
to you. All right.
Right.
So if you could leave behind some advice for somebody starting a podcast right now, what would that piece of advice be? I think
Make sure you do it with the people that you love.
Oh, I was going to say some other shit and you just threw my head for a spin. I forgot what I was going to say. That,
My bad.
That was actually a good point. I know. Actually, I'm going to add on to that, and I'm going to say the people that you love and a subject.
I was gonna say that, yes.
you really love, because okay, it's us, but we also gotta combine that with something that we're actually
Correct.
into.
Yeah.
And like
Right.
doing the research and doing the time and bringing the people on.
It's
right?
difficult, man. It's hard.
It's hard, and then getting the right guests that actually go around that theme.
Correct.
Right.
That fit in there.
That
Yeah,
fit
yeah,
into
yeah.
that episode and that subject. I would definitely say that. I definitely say find a good studio that's comfortable.
Right?
Right?
Great
Shout out to
engineer.
Remy.
Great engineer.
Great
Shout out to
engineer,
Remy.
you know what I'm saying? Like that's number one. Number
Yep.
one thing I've learned when it comes to recording this is make sure the sound is on point, because you can always add stock footage and add shit like that. But the sound, if you don't have bad sound,
If you have bad sound, yeah.
you're done. You're done. What about you, Mo?
I'm, man, just put, besides obviously doing the people you love and talking about something you love, the energy you put into it, man, is what you're going to get back out.
yeah.
So the advice that I would give someone that's starting a podcast is keep that same energy, man. Like keep the energy that made you, there's a reason why you wanted to start that podcast, whatever that reason is, and whatever that idea was, it was born from somewhere with good energy, right?
Right.
You got to keep that energy throughout, and it's hard because you're going to be juggling a lot of things. You're going to be going through a lot of learning pains and ups and downs and the prep and, the sound and, this and that and, right, all the things that come along with this, but keep that same energy, because the energy you put out there is going to be reciprocated. Not only just by the universe, but your guests are going to feel that, and your co-hosts are going to feel that. So,
I mean, I was yelling at Carlos earlier.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. You can't tell, but keep that same energy, man. Keep that same energy, man.
Wake up.
Keep that same energy, man.
It's 10:30. Wake up.
Listen, man, when you're doing something that you love, man, you can never fail.
That's true. Hey.
So let's. On this note, we're gonna end them out. We're gonna end it with how we normally end it, where it's like if you're going through, if you can give advice to your younger self that's going through the shits right now, what would that advice be? Something inspirational, right? For me, it's two things. Number one, it's a Joe Budden quote that I've listened to forever. The song that I listened to the most, that you guys have probably never even heard of, it's a song called "All of Me" by Joe Budden. It's off of his Boo Music 2 mixtape or some shit like that, right? When we had CDs, right? And it goes, you can't steal second base and keep your foot on first, right? So it's like, don't be afraid to fill out the application, take the jump, take the leap, make the move, stop being scared about it, and just fucking do it, right? That's number one. The second thing was my father passed away last year, and I was going through his house, like cleaning up the house or whatever, and I found this quote that he wrote that it said, you can blame the past for many things, but the future is only on you. Right? So it's like, that's it, right? So then thinking about that and just thinking about my life, where it's like a lot of the times that I haven't been ready to make that move, to make that leap, it's because I was holding on to something that I just shouldn't have, right? And letting it affect me, how I grew up, my family, whatever that is, right? It's just like, it affects you to the point that it freezes you and you just can't get out of it, right? So I would definitely say that, where it's like, don't let the past fuck up your flow going into the future. I'm just kind of keeping it that way. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with put yourself out there, right? You got to put yourself out there. You got to try. Just going off of what you said with the application, just try it. You got to try it. You got to put yourself out there. If I was telling my younger self, hey, whatever it is that you're going through right now that's got you feeling like this, at least you put yourself out there, right? And which led you to feel this way, right? Clearly it didn't end up the way you thought, because or else you wouldn't be feeling this way. But however, that's the first part, right? Put yourself out there. That's great. Second thing, what can you learn from that? Whatever it is that you got to there, whatever that it was that you just tried, Jamal, right? Younger Jamal.
Yeah.
And you didn't succeed at, what can you learn from that?
Right.
To get you over that hump the next time.
Over that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would tell them.
Yeah. What about you, Los? What you got?
Man, there's so many. But the one that sticks out the most.
Pop up with some weird, obscure quote.
I mean,
that
he learned
English.
in his English class.
Train right over here.
ESL.
You gotta explain this to me, my man.
Clams are happy, and so I'm happy. Clams.
La Casa Blanca.
I'm happy like a clam.
Failure will be the greatest teacher. Right, and we talked about this.
Failure will be the greatest teacher. Okay.
Failure will be the greatest teacher, man. We just touched on this, right?
Wait, say it again.
Failure will be the greatest teacher.
Probably from Kung Fu Panda, though.
Probably.
It's not Kung Fu Panda. That's the present.
It's a back of a Pokemon card.
The present. Yeah, okay, I got you.
All right, hold on, man. Damn, let me get to that. Failure will be the greatest teacher, because we touched on this earlier. Life will continue to present opportunities for you to learn from your mistakes for personal growth, right? So you have to be able to recognize these moments, right? And just remember, man, that when you fail, you're not starting all over again. You're starting from scratch. Failure is not having to start all over again from scratch. You're starting from experience.
Nice. Yeah, I like that one.
Right. So that's why to me failure is the greatest teacher. Right, because you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience.
I love it. All right, so the last thing we're going to do, I'm going to put you guys on the spot right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I do this exercise with my family at the end of every year. We're always reaching the end of the year already, right? At the time this drops. And I need a word that's going to guide you through this podcast for next year. A word that's going to improve your 2024 for the season 2. What's that one word that pops into your head that
to improve
on season 2?
Season 2?
To improve.
First thing that comes in my head is reflection. So I'm gonna go with reflection.
Think back. How can I do this? What can I do?
What can I do? What did I do better? What did that look like? And just reflect and appreciate, right? Reflection is not only just learning, but appreciate.
Yeah.
looking back and saying, wow, look at what I did. Look where I was.
Yeah.
Right. And appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that I could keep moving forward and do a better 2024 season
And
too.
do better next time. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Los? Don't look
I
at
would
me.
say
don't know yet.
prioritize, man. I would say prioritize because I would much rather do this
Yeah,
75%
be doing
of
this
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And then 25% of the time work with bankruptcy clients, right? Because I still love bankruptcy,
Yeah.
right? But it's like I was telling you guys, right? You can either do what you love or love what you do,
Yeah.
right?
Wait, yeah, you said that to us earlier, and I was like, wait, what? I'm still
Doing what you love is this, man. But, loving what you do is, falling in love with something that you may not be your number one thing, but you are still able to do it.
Yeah.
And able to get up and do it every day, right? So I love helping people.
Right.
Right? But I love helping people this way. So this is my first love. But if I can't do this for a living, then at least I'm going to love to do bankruptcy and help people that way.
I think for me, it's no expectations. Walking in here, getting ready, doing this podcast, not having an expectation as to what's going to happen, what we're going to record,
There you
what we're
go,
going to do.
Pop.
what
That's
the
a
next
biggie
step
for you.
is,
That's huge.
What anything,
That's
none
a
of
biggie
that.
for you.
None of that. Like, it's just like walking
We
into
at
season
least get 1 week, like every week, we get a message from Pop. Like, yo, disappointed.
Worried. Worried.
Don't look at your likes.
Worried. I think it's like no expectations coming into the next year and being like, you know what? Whatever gets said on that couch is what's going to get said. Whatever we come in ready to do, whatever we can do, whatever we can't do, it's going to happen. As opposed to me walking in here and being like, we got to do these 55 different things.
Yeah, I got you.
And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't do them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crap. Like, we didn't do none of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
that's
But being
actually how we
okay with
started.
it. No, but for real. Like,
that happens all the time.
it happens all the time, right? But just like being okay with it and being able to just walk into the room and walk out of here and being like, we gave our
That's-
best.
That's
right.
big. That's big.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen,
That's
man.
big.
Excellence over
And
This is
perfection.
like
put 'em in order
You,
now.
you never see
Now
the
they-
meme when the guy's like, "Fuck this job." Wait.
Yeah, I still need these.
Papers. All right. On that note, always remember: be vulnerable, be inspirational, be resilient. Tell your
Tell
story
your
at
story.
failuresonly.com. For Pablo, for Carlos, for Jamal, it's been an amazing season. Season 1, we got a lot of stuff coming for you for season 2, 3, and possibly 4. We're working our way there. Failures Only podcast. That's it. I'm done.
Peace out.
I'm out.
Wide. And that's Carlos.
That's me.
So you got
Remember your cameras.
1.
Boom. Me.
I'm 1.
You're 1.
I'm over here.
1-1.
Oh, this is
You're 1. You're 2. Wide. Me.
Let's go. Yeah. Shit.
ready.
We're gonna fuck this one up.
Yes. Yeah, we are.
It's all good.